this video, we'll see how to configure the GetResponse for PrestaShop plugin and be able to send really helpful PrestaShop e-commerce data to your GetResponse account. And so I'm going to start from the point of having the plugin already installed in the back end of your PrestaShop account. So this is what it looks like in my account. So we'll go to GetResponse, and when you hover over it, you'll see you've got additional options. But the first, of course, is actually connecting your GetResponse account with PrestaShop. And then we'll be able to see how to export existing customer data, letting customers or visitors to your shop subscribe when they register or via forms, web event tracking, and some GetResponse additional e-commerce features as well. And so you just need to go to your GetResponse account, choose Integrations and API, get your API key, copy it, and then bring it over here and connect it. And you can also specify if you have an enterprise account or not. So in my case, I do not for this example, and we'll click Connect. And then you can see it's connected. It pulls your account information from your GetResponse account over into PrestaShop. Now we can go through and see the additional things to configure. So go back over here. And this first option on the list under the account data is export customer data. And basically what that means, if you already have an existing group of customers within your PrestaShop account, if you already got some e-commerce data, this isn't a brand new shop, you probably would want to send those customers and their data over into your GetResponse account. And so that's what you can do now. That's what this is going to do. One-time export of existing customers. They said it so precisely right here. And so you just need to specify a list in your account that you actually want to send this data to. But you can also see that you have the option to add a new contact list right here from within PrestaShop if you need to. So that's pretty handy. So if you don't actually have a list already in your GetResponse account where you want to send these existing customers you have, you can just go ahead and actually create that right within PrestaShop. So that's very handy as well. But I do actually already have a list I want to send it to, so I don't need to do that in this case. So I'll go back to that page. So I'm going to send it, let's say, to this customers list that I have. You know, if you want to include newsletter subscribers on this or not, people who've been signing up, if you want to add them to an autoresponder or not, and if you want to actually, update, if any of these customers are already on this GetResponse list, do you want to update the data with what we have in PrestaShop versus what's in GetResponse? So you could just choose that option, but I'll leave it as it is. So we'll just choose export, and it's going to process that for a moment, and then you'll be able to know that that data is there. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes for you to see that data within your GetResponse account, but you can just give it a few minutes and you should be able to see that there. So that's what you want to do with that. So that's just that one-time export of existing customers. And then I'm going to actually, since we're on this kind of e-commerce, track, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom to GetResponse e-commerce. And what we want to do is enable this, is to send e-commerce data to GetResponse. And you can see there's some, helpful little tooltip here about actually what it helps you track and collect. Staying informed about their spending habits, creating marketing automation workflows that react to purchases, abandoned carts. That's a huge thing we want to be able to do. Or, anytime someone spends $500, automatically, send some specific offer to them or something. And also, you need to make sure that you enable adding contacts during registration to start sending those specific customers data to GetResponse. But we also want to turn this on. And we also need to select a shop. And the shop is, you can see I have quite a few shops that the API key that I connected actually generated, because I've got quite a few test instances to go through. But this is basically kind of like a holding place for the e-commerce data that you're going to be sending over from PrestaShop into your GetResponse account. So for example, you could just go ahead and, be able to add a new shop here. So if you haven't done this yet, this is your first time, you won't have any here. So you will need to go here and choose Add New Shop and call it, the name of your store or shop. I'm using them interchangeably, but it could be the name of your store. You could call it PrestaShop data, whatever you want to call it. I already have enough shops, so I won't go ahead and create another one, but I'll choose yes. And then let's say I want this to be my, chocolate monster shop. This is the data associated with this. So now I just click save, and I can be sure that I'm sending that customer. See, and it kind of made some information. I need to add contacts during registrations. So actually I can go here and click yes, and click yes if you want to. And I'll want to associate it with this list. And now I'll click save. So sorry about that. I got ahead of myself with my e-commerce. So then we can go to GetResponse e-commerce. Choose yes. Select my shop again. And click save. So there we go. So that was the tooltip that I ignored, so don't be like me. Go to the add contacts during registration first and then to e-commerce data. So that's pretty good. So actually it's set up in a good way. GetResponse account, you connect it, you export your existing customers, you subscribe during registration, set that up, and then GetResponse e-commerce data to make sure that's going well. And I can spend a little bit more time looking at this just in case. So basically after someone registers, whenever they're checking out, for example, their products in your store. So you want to make sure you add them, should they include the PrestaShop newsletter subscribers, you can make that call, and then which list in your account you want to send them to. And now you have some additional options here. We've got 3 here. Subscribe via forms. And so this is a great option for you to be able to add forms that you've created in GetResponse onto your PrestaShop site, so that, for example, people who are visiting your site, checking it out, would also have the opportunity to join your GetResponse list. And so what we did through registration is such that those customers, when they're checking out, can be added to our list. But as well, it's a great idea to let people who are browsing your shop have the opportunity to sign up. Maybe you operate a blog as well on there, or just on particular pages you want to give sign-ups, so you'd be able to do that. So it chooses from existing forms that you have available in your GetResponse account and published. And so if you don't have any created yet, you would just go ahead back in your GetResponse account, create the form and publish it, and then you'd be able to see it from the drop down here. So we can call it, our homepage signups, and where you want it to be placed on the footer of your homepage, for example, and in what style do you want it to be in. So we can click save. And so our form is ready to go. We've got some contact list rules as well that it could be handy. So defining rules that move or copy contacts between GetResponse lists when people make purchases in a selected product category. So this is something you could do within PrestaShop as well, as you see. But additionally, within marketing automation, you've got lots of cool methods for being able to do that as part of maybe your overall larger automation strategy, for example. For example, if someone makes a purchase, I quickly went into automation here just to show you a quick example. If someone makes a purchase in the baked goods category, any product, I want to, you can see we've got this option, move to list, and then move them to, pretend this is like, a cake list, for example. So they made a baked goods purchase, I can move them to, a cake specific list or whatever, if that's something you want to do. So that's an example. So you could set something up as a rule within PrestaShop, or actually do it in marketing automation. So if someone buys, in this PrestaShop example, in the category of dresses, they can be moved to the dresses list that we have. So that's an example of what that would look like. And then web event tracking is a really big one as well. And thankfully, it's quite easy to enable. You just click yes and click save. And you can see that you'll be able to actually track for those, customers or contacts that you have on your GetResponse list. Maybe they signed up via the form. Maybe they were sent over in the e-commerce export. Maybe they were added to your GetResponse list, from the form on your site. And once they're on your list, and then they'll be browsing your shop and your store, you'll be able to actually track and make some reactions, for example, for whenever someone visits that list. This is what really is key to making abandoned cart reminders work, and also be able to make, for example, targeted offers for people based on like a product page that they may have viewed. If someone viewed my dresses page, but then maybe they didn't check out a specific dress, or they kind of maybe didn't move further, I would be able to maybe send them a quick information about dresses, let's say based on the visit that they made to that page. And so that's going to be based on the web event tracking data. And so actually configuring the plugin is quite simple, as you'll see, very straightforward. It's connecting your account, exporting existing data, enabling subscribes via registration, sending e-commerce data, and then additional forms, options for adding contacts or visitors to your site from forms, moving contacts around or customers around based on their behavior, and then tracking the pages they're visiting on our site. And within GetResponse, I'll show you just a little bit more about where some of these functionalities are going to come into play. And a really big part of that is going to be within automation. And so you'll be able to see that if you go to automation and choose to create a workflow, there are these categories of pre-built templates. So they're already pre-built for you. All you need to do is configure their properties. And so, for example, for abandoned cart is a very simple way. Once you already have, all of these, plugin details configured, you'll be able to, if I can load, okay, you'll be able to automatically remind people of what they've forgotten in their carts. And so that's done just basically by configuring the properties there. So I can use this very simple reminder example. I go to the properties, choose API. This is the example I've been using for our plugin. So anytime someone abandons the cart there for 2 hours, let's say, we can send them a message. And I already have some messages created in my account, abandoned cart messages that I've created. So you do need to actually have that created whenever you're configuring the workflow. And so you'll do that, configure that message before you do the workflow within automation messages. So you need to make sure that you go here and create a draft is what it's called. You'll fill in the details. Let's say chocolate reminder, I'll just call it. Of course you want to spend a little bit more time optimizing your subject line. For the sake of time, I'm going to hurry us around. You can see we've got, even some e-commerce options as well. And this is just kind of an example here that they have already included in the template for what it could look like for some items that are forgotten. But actually, what we're going to do is use this e-commerce section, and it says abandoned cart. And you can move that over, and of course we're duplicating this. And you can edit the text, so it says what you want it to say. This is just some pre-filled text for you. So you can format this, format the buttons so they match the style, and you'll be able to change the font styling of the pre-fill, the auto-filled name and price for what's in the basket. And so as many items as they've forgotten will be listed here. So you can't, of course, see the products now in the editor because we don't know what they've forgotten yet and who this will be sent to, because it would be sent automatically to anyone who abandons the cart. And so this is how you could actually set that up. And for example, another e-commerce option within the message editor is recommendations. And so you could even, within the same message, remind people of what they've forgotten, but also recommend additional products. Like, you forgot these items, and also maybe you'd be interested in these items. So that's using these 2 e-commerce blocks, which would be handy. So again, you need to specify which store we pull e-commerce data from. And if you want to recommend products from some particular category, let's say, or it could be all categories, all products, but let's say baked goods, for example, and how many products do you want to recommend for, let's say, for example. So that's a lot of, blocks. And again, you can edit this so it matches, the message template or, your store more. But then the actual products and their images would be automatically filled in with the data whenever it's actually sent to the recipient, based on what they've forgotten in their cart, and also based on what they've purchased from you in the past, or what customers like them are purchasing, what they've purchased. So that kind of complementary data would be used to automatically recommend products that this particular recipient might enjoy. And so this is a really big part of your e-commerce data working for you within your message. And so our chocolate reminder message is now ready to go as a draft. And so we can go quickly back into that automation workflow for our abandoned cart and configure it. So it's just a good idea to make sure you've got your message ready to go. So one more time, We'll choose our API, our chocolate monster. If they abandon it for 2 hours, I want to send this message I just created, chocolate reminder. And so it's as easy as that. Automatically, when someone abandons their cart for 2 hours, we'll send them a message that reminds them of what they've forgotten and also recommend additional products to them. And one other place I'll show you about your e-commerce data that you're sending over from your PrestaShop account is contacts. We can search. And then if we do the advanced search, choose add condition, you'll see this e-commerce search condition here. And then you'll see you've got a number of really interesting criteria that you can use to search for customers. And here's all those shops that we had, so the Chocolate Monster shop, for example. We could search for people based on the number of purchases they've made, the amount of money they've spent with us, particular products that they've purchased in specific categories, for example, or any category if you want to. And so I definitely recommend that you think a little bit about of what you'd like to target customers based upon, and create what's called basically some custom filters. So then you can automatically, you could send a message to that group of contacts. You could create marketing automation workflows or sales promotions based on the people that are within this condition. So this is going to be really helpful for you. For example, total spent is equal, or let's say equal or greater than $50. So I don't have such a, I do actually. Okay, this example customer has made at least $50 of purchases in my account with us. And so I could save this as a custom filter. And now this person, this example, and then anyone else automatically, whenever they've made a $50 or greater amount of purchases within my Chocolate Monster shop, will be added to this list. And whenever added to this custom filter, and then I could, for example, set up a workflow that would automatically send a dedicated offer to everyone who gets this amount spent. You've spent $50, take $5 off your next purchase with us, or apply a tag to someone once they've reached $50, or apply scoring points once someone's reached some level of a purchase amount. The sky is totally the limit for the way you want to segment and target, track your contacts and your customers based on their e-commerce data. And so I definitely, again, would recommend that you check out the automation workflows that have been pre-built for you. For example, for post-purchase, this would be really handy for you, as well perhaps as some sales promotions, so you can see some interesting ways to actually use all of this e-commerce data that you're sending over from your e-commerce shop, and hopefully keep growing that list with new customers, and also growing that list and maybe trying to convert some of those people who are signing up via the form on your site but maybe aren't customers just yet. So this is the ways you can actually integrate PrestaShop and GetResponse and use that e-commerce data in with your GetResponse account.